Good morning. It's Tuesday, April the 21st, and I'm gonna be heading back to work here for a couple people, and yeah, this will be really short because I'm kind of running behind. But what I'm really looking at today here is a quick little update on, let's say, gold and gold ETFs. So last time I did a little bit of a summary on this. We went through different types of gold investing, from gold mining to gold streaming to gold ETFs to physical gold, and I ended up watching some more stuff, and it was just basically it was about the gold ETFs and going through how they actually store, let's say, they store their gold. So what happens is that when you buy something like GLD, like it doesn't really hold your money. So what happens is that they create, well, it's a trust. So, excuse my spelling here, but the trust then hires a trustee. It's basically a way to like reduce collateral on themselves. So you invest in this trust with your money. They hire a trustee. The trustee then hires a custodian, and custodian right here. And then this is where actually your gold is actually held. This is where it's held by the custodian. So the trust actually has no access to where the money is being held. And when you look at the actual legal summaries about all this, it's saying that in the case of a crisis, specifically, so they have rules that in the case of a crisis, the trust itself may not be able to redeem what the custodian actually has. So that's kind of a very frightening thing, especially in these times when you're into an asset like gold because you want it for storage of value purposes and safe haven purposes. Sorry to make such a mess here. And that was just something kind of interesting. My mom actually sent me a little video there, and it was just talking about one in particular, and it was talking about this ticker symbol that we ended up looking at, and it's one of the larger ones. So overall, the chart here looks pretty good. But just looking at GLD in general, I mean, not in general, specifically, and specifically looking at where is their gold held? Where is GLD the largest gold held? And it's held by an HSBC bank. I didn't know much about HSBC, but let's just keep looking here, right? So always good to, if you want to look at dirt, type in whatever you're looking at and put scam or scandal. And right here it even just says a 1.9 billion fine in 2012, money laundering. They've been involved with a lot of shady shit. One of the darkest hours in their 153 history. I mean, so if you want to go look at more about the shadiness of this company, you go right ahead. But you'll see this too. They follow the London Good Delivery standard, and that's just the way of packing the bars. But I think that was something that is probably a very important thing. Like when you're looking at these kind of ETFs, you want to make sure that if push comes to shove and we have a run on, let's say that the hypothetical situation when the banks actually closed for 2 weeks, like they have in the past, like that's sometimes if the banks close, that's when you can see a large period of inflation. And if everyone has the same idea, the same gold ETF, and they go to say, hey, I want that gold, and they got HSBC holding it with the rules and regulations saying that under a crisis they don't have to necessarily pay any of the trustees, it's like, holy shit, man, like this company that's been known to like literally scam everyone is now who's holding your gold in the largest gold trust here. So that's kind of shooken my confidence from this. Not that I'm gonna like panic sell right now. I mean, I want to find a good position to exit out and maybe reallocate it into a better ETF, or maybe just buy some more physical stuff. But I was looking at the other ones like Sprott ETF. Like I was just like, now I'm really curious, who's the custodian to these ETFs? And that's just who's owning or who's holding the gold. So with Sprott and Sprott Scott, it's PSLV physical, then it's got its pure gold, then it's got its CEF. So right now I got a limit order for this one, and I'm contemplating maybe selling my GLD and just putting it into this one instead. Now, do I trust these guys? That's just the thing. When you have an ETF, you're trusting someone, and especially with their known history, it's pretty tough to trust them. So with the Sprott and these ones right here, we can at least see the trustworthy storage will be held in custody by the Royal Canadian Mint, a federally crowned corporation of the Government of Canada. There is no leverage financial institution between the unit holders and the trust physical bullion, and no risk of financial loss in the event of bankruptcy of nationalization of the financial institute. So that's a little bit more. Now, are they going to be honest and hold true with this? I don't know, but it sounds better. You know, you got the federal government of Canada that owns it. It's not a private company. And they say that there's no financial risk or bankruptcy. Now, I haven't looked into, let's say, the efficacy of the Royal Canadian Mint. But I guess when you're looking at who you're going to trust, a government-backed one that says it's backed by this and there's no hidden fine print saying that, hey, if there's a financial crisis, actually the people that were the Royal Canadian Mint, we have it written in the terms of agreement that they don't have to pay the trustee, and we don't have to compensate you for that loss. And now that I'm thinking about it, that HBSC was involved in a lot of those freaking mortgage scandals, and so they're just not a very good company. So looking at that, I kind of wanted to see what's the difference between the Sprott. I mean, and it looks like that's the thing about this one. So I think that's a little bit of a positive for like the Sprott fund ETF versus, let's say, this GLD right here. Now I don't know if we're quite in that time of panic yet, but it was a kind of an interesting little bit of information to see that coming about. And maybe just looking at the market really quick today on the monthly sense right here, it looks like we might be nearing the top of this little climatic run of gold, and I wouldn't be surprised if we have a little bit of a calming down before we maybe push back up here. But we had a pretty good rise right there. So when we look at that, it just always needs to get a little bit of time to. So yeah, we had a 50% rise in this one, not too well over. Well, it's been a little while, but you can see that we've trucked up right here, and we're kind of starting to curve a little bit. So let's just take a look at the week sense here. And we can kind of see the momentum's a little. I think gold's really indecisive right now. So just looking at these bars right here, each one of these candles kind of tells a little bit of a story. And I don't have the pictures here, but it's one thing to be good at is just, or it's one thing that I'm increasingly starting to pay a little bit more attention to, is just looking at the bars and what they're telling you. But as it's going up here, the bottom. On a green bar, it opened at the bottom and ended right here. So in the red bar, it opened here and ended right there. So this is just what this transpired within this time frame. So when it starts here and ends there, we can assume that's pretty good. But we also have this tail right here, signaling that the sellers came in and were pushing it down. So when we opened right here, it doesn't really look, but it's kind of we opened here. We came up and we came all the way down, but we ended up back up here, so that's still a positive aspect. But we did have a good pushback here. Here we opened here and we came up there. That's pretty bullish. Right here we opened up, we drove all the way up here. Actually, we started on the top aspect, we drove all the way up and we ended up coming back down. So that's kind of a signal that, hey, we failed here. We opened up, we came all the way down, and then we started coming back down here. So I say that's a pretty bearish candle right here. And then we have this doji, which is kind of saying indecision, and we're right on this this relatively recent high right now. So we're kind of in a decision right here, looking at it like that. But each time you pull it into a shorter time frame, you can see the finer breakdown of it. But looking in here, we can just take a look at some of these candles here. We can see these dojis right there. They're basically moments of indecision when it goes up and down. Right here, indecision. We can see these little crosses. Right here, it's when we're not too sure about which way we're going. But here in the short term, in the daily sense, I could see a little bit of pullback here. Might give some good opportunity to, let's say reinvest here. But also, you're never quite sure with the state right now, so it's not clear on the weekly that we're going to be having some downside, and the monthly still looks like it's going up. The daily looks like she could be having some downturn right now, but it's kind of tough to say exactly. I don't know if I want to sell any of my gold. You know, I mean, I might sell one position for another, but it's just like, yeah, I mean, I don't want to sell too much of my gold positions, but this GLD, I don't know if I really like this company as much anymore after hearing this information, so let's just take it how it is. I mean, this just has a shadier a company that I wouldn't trust with too much of my money, and that's who's surprisingly, the world's pretty strange when you hear that kind of stuff, but yeah, anyway, just food for thought. I'm gonna head out of here, so hopefully have a great day. All right, take care.